What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Destroy with Astro DFS, and it is Tuesday, which means we are talking quarterbacks. A lot of injuries this week. A lot of people coming back from suspension. It's an interesting week. I like a lot of the matchups. It's a lot easier to look at this week than they were last week. So definitely some interesting plays. Um, but let's just start off. No Patty Mahomes for this Sunday. So we got Lamar Jackson up to 7,100 playing against Pittsburgh. Now, normally I would say, wow, what a great play. But Pittsburgh's defense really came together last night. They shut down Cincinnati. Not that Cincinnati's anything really special. They haven't shown us anything special, but they did shut them down. They looked really clean, really good. Um, Baltimore is a lot more fast paced. They have a better quarterback, way better quarterback, and in my opinion, a better running back at this point, which is weird because you never knew who was going to be Baltimore's running back, but we do now. Uh, so yeah, they're going against Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't really like it at 7,100. Definitely think there's so many better plays for cheaper here, but it's not a bad play at the same time because he can run, unlike Dalton, who just got trapped most of the game. 6,700, Deshaun Watson. So this is kind of an interesting play because Deshaun Watson got totally shut down by Carolina last week. I did pick Carolina's defense. I had a good feeling about it for some reason. They just looked really good against Arizona. And I think Houston had two of their offensive linemen injured, if I'm not mistaken, their left guard and left tackle. So anytime offensive line go down, that makes me favor the defense because they can attack that. So they're playing Atlanta this week. Atlanta's defense has looked good, has looked bad. As you could see, they're seventh in passing yards per game, but 18th in rushing yards. Don't like any Houston running backs this week. I don't think anyone does, but Deshaun Watson, I think, has a really good matchup. They're home, which is always good to have at this. And I think maybe this is the week that we see Will Fuller finally stand out and explode. And if that happens, that offense is so scary. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll see with the injuries for the offensive line. Um, make it easier to pick Watson at that point. Next, Tom Brady. $6,500 playing against one of the worst defenses in the league. Uh, the Redskins have only allowed quarterbacks to throw 131 times, even though it's not really them allowing, it's more the other team, just because you run the ball against the Redskins because their defense is terrible. But we have Tom Brady, the GOAT. So it's a good play no matter who he's playing. Even last week against Buffalo, Buffalo's defense is just really elite, and I think they proved it last week. But Tom Brady at 6,500 against Washington is a really solid play. I can easily see a 4 to 5 touchdown game depending on how Washington reacts. I don't think they're going to react good if they have their new rookie quarterback Hoskins in. So yeah, not feeling too confident from Washington side. Otherwise, I would say Brady's one of the most perfect plays here, but he's not a bad play. He's a really safe play at 6,500, playing against one of the worst defenses in the league that have allowed 10 passing touchdowns. So yeah, next is Kyler Murray, 6,300. I think Kyler Murray is due for another good game. As you could see, he's went down. And it kind of scares you, especially seeing his price being the highest it's been this season at 6,300. But they're playing Cincinnati. Like Cincinnati does not have a good defense at all. Um, they have allowed 8 touchdowns to quarterbacks, 964 passing yards. But who have they really faced? They haven't faced anybody that really can destroy them. Like I said, I think Kyler Murray has a very good comeback week, even if they are without Christian Kirk. I think between him and David Johnson, they can really destroy the Cincinnati team. So definitely some interest there in Kyler Murray. Next is Jameis Winston playing against the New Orleans Saints. Like, New Orleans Saints defense, I thought would be a lot better, but I don't think they are. I think that game against Dallas is pretty much just an offensive shit show more than a defensive standout. Both those offenses have a lot of capability. And Dallas, I think, was just way too confident going against a backup. But yeah, Jameis Winston, 55 points for Tampa Bay. The man was on fire last week. I don't think not a lot of people had confidence in him. I think he was 5%, less than 5% owned in everything. 33 points. I mean, he threw 4 touchdowns, 385 yards, only 13 incompletions in that game. They scored 55. They ran a lot too, so he had potential for so much more, but not a bad play against New Orleans, who is 6th in the league in passing yards given up. Only allowed 6 passing touchdowns. Just depends on how the defensive line plays for him. Jameis Winston, I never thought I'd say this, not a bad play. Carson Wentz going against the Jets. Now, you do have to watch for the Jets' injuries, especially C.J. Mosley. If C.J. Mosley plays, I think it's very dangerous to play Carson Wentz just because C.J. Mosley is one of those players that just takes up the middle of the field. Sure, you could get passes by him, but he's one of the cleanest tacklers in football. And if he's playing, that's scary. If they have Williams back 100%, Jamal Adams in that backfield, this defense is really, really good. I like their defense a lot this week. Probably going to play a lot of them. 6,100 though. Carson Wentz you saw what he did against Green Bay last week. 3 touchdowns against Green Bay's elite defense. Like, Green Bay's looked really clean, and they totally came in there and destroyed them. You could see he's only thrown for 300 yards once this season. If they have a healthy offense, he has a lot of potential. So not a terrible play. Has high potential too, going against a defense that could be injured. Aaron Rodgers against Dallas. So not liking this at all. Dallas has only given up 3 passing touchdowns this season. Granted, they've played some pretty terrible teams, but still, any defense that allows low scoring, you have to like them. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be without Devontae Adams and possibly more than likely Williams. So it's 2 of his weapons. I don't know how VS and Allison are going to step up at the receiving core for him. So we'll have to see. I don't really like Aaron Rodgers just because of how they've ran their offense so far this season. Last week, I said he was going to have a good game, and he did. They just couldn't get the job done. It looked like a pass interference, but anyway, that's besides the point. They're playing Dallas's defense. Not one of my favorite plays here. The same with Dak Prescott. You saw what he did last week against New Orleans. Like I said, it was more of an offensive shit show than a defensive standout. So he's looked good except for that game. He was held under 9 points. And it shows, like, granted, they were 3-0 going into the game, but it shows of how much Michael Gallup has helped that offense. So if he plays, it could really help out Dallas's offense. I'm more interested in Zeke here, though, than Dak. 100% on that. He is cheap, so if salary allows it, and I don't know, I see something that just really interests me in that play, I could play him. Matt Ryan against Houston, not really interested here. You can look at Matt Ryan's stats. He's been pretty consistent. Last week was his worst week, which a lot of people were, but look at his pass attempts. 46, 43, 34, 53. Like, that's very, very likable, especially if you're going after any Atlanta receivers. Houston's defense kind of worry me. They've allowed 1,100 yards, only 5 passing touchdowns, but they've only picked off quarterbacks once this year. They do allow a lot of completions, so Austin Hooper looking really, really good this week. I don't know if Matt Ryan necessarily interests me that much, but definitely some weapons around him. Phillip Rivers against Denver. Denver just got hit with that big news of Bradley Chubb is out for the season. But the Chargers are hurt. They do have Melvin Gordon, who should be a full go this week. Philip Rivers last week with Keenan Allen just really blew everyone back. No one thought. You could see Keenan Allen only had 6 targets last week, and he's somebody that should get at least 12, especially in a game like that where 2 of your receivers are injured. And Inman did go down in that game too. But Chris Harris has been locking receivers down, so I don't really like the Philip Rivers Keenan Allen play there. Andy Dalton against Arizona. If Andy Dalton could have one of those elite games that he has, we could look at it. Last night looked terrible. Yeah, last night it looked terrible. 171 yards. That incompletion. This is what scares me, and this is what sucks without having AJ Green and now possibly John Ross. Is the incompletion percentage? They did a lot of short passes, and I saw a lot of receivers just drop the ball. So he really needs AJ Green back against Arizona's defense, though. You could see they are just terrible. That offense really helps that defense not look as bad, but when the offense is playing bad, it's definitely worrisome. But I like Andy Dalton this week, I think, at 5,700. Not a whole lot, not playing him for GPP, possibly cash, just because why not go after Arizona's terrible defense? Like, Arizona has not intercepted a quarterback yet this season. Allowed 10 touchdowns and 1,158 yards. So definitely interesting, especially being at 5,700. Just got to see some news around that offense, see how they're feeling. Daniel Jones going against Minnesota. I think this is a week where Daniel Jones doesn't play that good. They beat Washington. He got 14.3 points, 2 picks. That's against Washington's defense. That's what worries me a little. Minnesota has a very good defense, and they've proven that. Granted, he does have Golden Tate back this week, and it really opens up for Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram. But Gallman's probably not going to run like he did. They're going to protect those short passes to the running back. And they're going to test Daniel Jones to throw the ball. And they have a really good defensive back core there. So at 5,600, not one of my favorite plays against Minnesota, to be honest. Sam Darnold is questionable. It's a 50-50 if he's going to play. If he plays, it might be a really good play. We saw what he did week 1, especially to Crowder. So you get a little more rust off for those receivers. Maybe some rust off of him. They did play Buffalo. They're playing against Philly, who is just a terrible defense. Yeah, worse in the league. And they're not going to be able to run the ball, so they're going to have to pass a lot to Le'Veon Bell. That's one thing that I will give Philly's defensive line is they're very good at containing running backs. They're possibly going to contain Le'Veon Bell. If Sam Darnold does not play, I don't have a lot of interest in Falk. Gonna miss you. Oh, man. He's looked good. Looked really good. You can see he's through pick game 1, has not thrown a pick since. Quarterback rate has been spectacular. He proved that he can run the ball. But here's one thing that scares me is these 3 fumbles right here. That's what worries me a little, and that was against Houston's defense. Granted, they've played some good defense. I think he did way better than I thought he was against Denver's defense. But if Jalen Ramsey is playing, I don't know. Sorry, I will not take Minshew against that Carolina defense. Just because I think it's going to be another defensive showdown. I don't like defensive showdown. If Jalen Ramsey is playing for Jacksonville and that defense is stopping Carolina, I think Carolina is going to react the same way. I don't really like that. So, we'll have to see about Ramsey. Kirk Cousins against New York. So, I know a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with me, but I like Kirk Cousins here. He's played bad career-wise against New York, but I think if any game he breaks out, it has to be this game. Like, it has to. It has to. He's only thrown 3 touchdowns this year, and he's got 2 really elite receivers. And the Giants have such a terrible defense. They've allowed 1,182 yards this season to quarterbacks, 8 touchdowns, but they have picked quarterbacks off 5 times. Kirk Cousins, we don't know. He's looking like he's not worth that big contract, but like I said, if any week he's going to bounce back, it's got to be this week. So making it very interesting at 5,300. So definitely worth a couple looks. Teddy Bridgewater do not like against Tampa Bay. Sorry. Tampa Bay's defense looks pretty good, even though they allowed Rams to score 40 points. Yeah, that's the Rams. This is New Orleans. New Orleans hasn't looked anything special on offense since getting Teddy Bridgewater. Had 2 very low-scoring offensive games with Teddy. So against Tampa Bay's defense, unless we could see another high-scoring game like we did, not really buying Teddy Bridgewater here. Kyle Allen not playing against Jacksonville's defense. Same thing. Just depends on Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey plays, not playing Allen. Probably not going to play Minshew. Trubisky, more than likely not playing. Mason Rudolph don't want to play against Baltimore's defense, even though that defensive back for Baltimore doesn't look clean at all. It's just because they're not healthy. But against Cincinnati, he really didn't even look that good. He had a lot of passes to the running back, and they ran the ball a lot. Juju got banged up. I think he's good, though. Luke Falk, like I said, against Philly, no way. Marcus Mariota against Buffalo, I can't. Buffalo's defense looks really good. Chase Daniel against Oakland is a big question mark. He did lead the team to win against Minnesota, but one thing I think Oakland's going to try to do is pressure Chase Daniels all game. If you pressure Daniels, I told everybody he is a deer in headlights. Deer in headlights. So definitely gonna get some luck there in order to take Daniels. But one of the plays I think is very interesting is Joe Flacco. They're playing the Chargers. Now, normally I wouldn't like anybody playing the Chargers defense because of how good they are, but they're hurt. They're really, really hurt. And Joe Flacco, as you can see, put 26 points up against Jacksonville's defense last week. Granted, they didn't have Jalen Ramsey, but still, he's not a bad quarterback. He might not play the best, and he hasn't played the best, but if that offense starts clicking, if Lindsey and Freeman can actually run the ball and they have a very good balanced defense, or balanced rushing game, I should say, I'm liking the play against the Chargers here, to be honest. Chargers do have a good pass defense. They've only allowed 966 yards, but they've allowed 8 touchdowns. I think this is another week that if they're this hurt, Joe Flacco can honestly step in at 4,700 and actually tear down some plays there. That is it. No, Haskins is the other one. If you take Haskins, I'm sorry. I feel really bad for you. That's it for quarterback, guys. Like I said, things will change depending on injuries, offensively and defensively, but that's just a first look on Tuesday of what I like. Tune in the rest of the week as we're going to break down positions every day of the week, talk about injuries on Friday and Saturday, and do a lineup strategy on Sunday. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Leave a comment down on who you like at quarterback and who you did not. Make sure to subscribe so you know when we upload videos, because we make some quality content here. Nothing too special, but a little better than average. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you in the next video.